If you make around $300,000 in income, federally in taxes, you're paying about $88,000 of that. Did you know there's actually a strategy that you're able to pretty much wipe out all of that income? It's called the short-term rental loophole. Now, I'm going to explain to you what it is. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but it does mean that you have to be aware what other people are doing. What the short-term rental loophole allows you to do if you are a high net income earner is for you to go buy a short-term rental, manage the short-term rental, and then do what it's called a cost segregation. So in other words, you have your W-2 at $300,000. You go buy a $750,000 rental, put it on Airbnb, actually manage it, make sure it gets rented. And what you're going to do is you're going to accelerate this depreciation on your rental and take those losses against that $300,000. That will allow you to wipe out a lot of that $300,000 in taxes, which you will hopefully get back a refund and use that money to continue to invest in other short-term rentals. That is how high net income earners are actually slashing their taxes in half or zero.
The One Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law on July 4th, 2025. And in the comments, I'd love for you to let me know your thoughts regarding the legislation and whether or not you're going to take advantage of any of the strategies it opens up for us. Now, this particular post is talking about one aspect of the law, the concept of bonus depreciation. Now, it's important to note that bonus depreciation existed before this legislation. It's just this legislation sort of revitalizes it because it makes it available again up to 100%. Again, let me give you some context. Rental real estate, by default, is considered to be a passive activity. And since 1986, passive activities have this thing called passive activity loss rules, which say losses in a passive activity can only be used to offset income inside of a passive activity. They can't be used to offset non-passive activities like your W-2 activity or a traditional business, unless there's an exception. And this short-term rental is one such exception. Now, there's a lot of things you need to do in order to qualify for it. The first has to do with the nature of the real estate itself. It must be short-term in nature. And that means your tenant's average stay has to be 7 days or less. The other aspect is a management aspect, that criteria, if you will. And that's a two-part aspect. The first is a time quality. That's 100 hours you have to be engaged in the active trade and or business of real estate in a calendar year. So it's not magic, it's just math. You have to figure out where we are in the calendar and can you actually make that a probability in your circumstance. The second quality of management is that no one else is permitted to work more than you in that particular business. So you can't really rely on a third-party property manager. But if you have the ability to qualify, it gives you the amazing ability to pull massive potential losses that are losses only on paper over to offset income that otherwise you really don't have a lot of other tax strategies to offset. So I'm curious, are you going to leverage this strategy? Because people in the know, this is what they're doing.